Okay, so I'm recording. So when you go to your iLearn course, you'll notice that you have a few assignments due on the 8th, and I believe there's one assignment that it's on us that we have to do, which is so you guys do the employer evaluation, and I believe we do where is it? No, self-evaluation. I think that's something that we do. I'm not, oh no, that's a self-evaluation, never mind. So yeah, all of these assignments you have to complete by the 8th. And I know it says that like the assignment ends or something like that on the 20th. But that's just for the whole semester. So you guys should be done with all of these assignments by the 8th. So I just wanted to make that clear. Other than that, well, we are in week 10, and next week, week 11 or 12, you should be scheduling a practice presentation with your project manager and with your project mentor. And what that is just you present your final deliverable to your project mentor or and project manager, so you can get feedback and make any final adjustments, so you can present on week 13 to your client. So just make sure you schedule a time on week 13 or before that when you can meet with your client. Do you guys have any questions about that? And you can just unmute yourselves and talk. There's only 4 of us, so it won't be super crazy.
I have a question, Danny.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a PowerPoint. It could be what the client asked for, right?
Yes, that's a really good question. Yeah, just do whatever the client asks for. Some clients ask for a presentation, other for a report, or anything that the client wants. It's not a presentation for the project manager and the project mentor. It's whatever you will be presenting to your client at the end.
Okay. So we have a Word document, but I think we talked about it last time. If we could just put so we don't have to go through everything, right? We could just put specifics in the beginning and then the rest of the research in the bottom.
Right. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's my only question.
Okay, yeah, that's for your project. And yeah, just make sure that whatever deliverable you're working on, that it makes sense to the client, that you cite your sources, and that you do anything you need to do so the client can use that information and it's easy to understand for them.
Okay.
So I know that on the timeline it says that the practice presentation should be in week 11. Some of you might be I don't know, like distributing surveys that you're still waiting on the responses from surveys or things like that. So just make sure that you have enough content to show us before you schedule that with us. That way we can give feedback, and it's not gonna be just meeting just for the sake of meeting, you know. Cool. Anyone else? Does anyone else have questions? Maybe not just about this, but like in general about their projects, like any sources that you've found hard to find or something like that? If no one else has questions, it's going to be the shortest training ever. So I don't know, it's up to you. I'm here to answer questions, so I'll stay for like, I don't know, until 4 to see if anyone else shows up. But yeah, I'm only here to answer questions. I'm just familiar with the projects I'm over, and I don't, Trisha and Crystal, I don't know exactly what your projects are about, but I can still try to answer some questions if you have any. Or Laura, same. And I'm
I
gonna.
think I'm good as far as projects. Just to clarify, we need to have our hours completed by the 8th. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Uh-huh. And okay, thank you for asking that, because I know that it says that the hours are due by the 8th, but some of you might have a meeting, a client meeting or a group meeting or whatever after the 8th. So what I was told by David Lindsay is that you kind of like estimate how many hours you're going to work during week 13. So if you're going to meet with your client for an hour, then you can add that as your total hours. Just make sure you estimate the correct amount, so you're just honest, you know.
Okay. Our client has us working on a series of smaller projects instead of one big project. So if he still has projects that he wants done in the last week, is that okay to just kind of keep working on that and keep tracking those hours and just estimate how much time we're going to be doing on those?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, do whatever your client wants. I know every project is kind of different, but I would say for a general rule for all of the projects, as you work on those research, maybe until the very end of the semester, think about the deliverable that you want to give to the client, because whatever the project is always good for the client to have like a summary or something that's visually appealing, you know, that he can understand everything that you've worked on throughout the semester.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Let's see. Are you guys finding hard to find certain sources or resources for your projects? Or do you feel confident with what you have?
With our client, he's provided everything that we need for as far as resources. So we've been really fortunate that he's had a really wide variety of projects, but they've also been not too terribly difficult. So
okay, that's good. That's very helpful when the client is helpful like that.
Yeah,
that's good. And what project are you over?
I'm working with Wisdify.
Okay. Cool.
So it's been fun. I'm actually thinking about talking to him, see if he just wants me to keep working with him afterwards, just kind of on a volunteer basis. I like what he's doing. So.
Is it an insurance? What is that? The insurance one or what?
No, it's the one where he has online training courses.
Okay.
So he's awesome to work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you learn a lot. Like if you do what you're supposed to do, you can learn a lot from Alps Basic or Advanced. And as far as I know, I think they're still hiring for Alps Advanced if you guys are interested in doing that. It's paid, but it's like a stipend. I think that's what it's called. So it's, I think, $280 for a research specialist and $500 something for a junior analyst, which would be like the team lead. So you guys can still apply for that, I believe.
What's the difference between the two jobs for the advanced project? Like, what do you do for the, if that makes sense, I guess?
Like the two positions?
Yeah.
So the junior analyst is in charge of setting meetings with the client. He's in charge of making sure that the team is doing what they're supposed to do. It's very similar to the team lead. So he meets with like the project manager every week. He has to coordinate that the team is doing what they're supposed to do and kind of like leading the discussions in the team and with the client. So yeah, it's more of like a leadership position if you want. And the research specialist, they work on the research. Like everyone works on the research, but they don't have too much of a responsibility to make sure that everything is working as it should. So I think I would say that's the main difference.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. I appreciate you asking questions.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and head out. I had just those couple of quick questions. So
yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. If you have any,
you guys have a good day.
Any other questions, then you're free to go. Yeah, thank you, Tricia.
Thanks.
I don't think I have any other, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Daniela.
Good luck with your project.
Sorry?
Good luck with your project.
Hey, thanks. We'll need it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Laura, is that Laura Pacheos?
Yeah.
Okay. And we met earlier, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking earlier.
Okay.
So on the project that we're working on, we have some like research on a scooter business.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so we did like a week on just the scooter business. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do with that information. Like,
yes. I forgot to ask that to Brady because I had the same question. Did you ask him recently, like what he's expecting from that part of the project?
We have not. I think we talked about it 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. And what did he say?
He just said put that on pause, and if we have time at the end, we'll work on it.
Okay. It seems like he's more interested in the light bulbs for sure.
Yeah.
But I would double check with him. So if you can send him an email today or a text on Slack or something before tomorrow. I feel like tomorrow no one's going to be doing much, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just make sure that what you guys have is enough for him. And if it's not, then yeah, just confirm that with him.
Okay.
Welcome, Andrea.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We were just talking about, so this, like I said before, it's just a time for you to ask questions. If you have any questions about your project or struggling with anything about that. And also something I mentioned at the beginning was that all of the assignments on iLearn are due by December 8th, even though it says that the end time of the assignment or something is on the 20th.
Oh, okay.
So make sure everything is due by the 8th. And also for the total hours that you're supposed to have done by the 8th as well. For example, if you worked, I don't know, like 100 hours by the 8th, but then you know that you will be working 5 more hours during week 13, then put like that you've worked 105 hours because you won't be able to enter more after the 8th.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think for me it's different because I'm not a BYUI student. I'm an LDSBC.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't have iLearn actually. I have Canvas.
Okay. Oh, look at that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's different for you then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any questions about your project or the internship in general?
No, actually, I just came here to listen what you guys were talking about, and I don't know, something specifically that you have to say about the project, or I don't know.
Well, something that I was mentioning before is to make sure that your team schedules a practice presentation with the project mentor and the project manager during week 11 or 12. And just make sure that you show the deliverable that you're going to be showing to your client.
Okay.
So make sure you do that. And I say week 11 or 12 because some of you are working on surveys or have more like different things to do, and it might be better to push it until week 12, you know.
Okay.
But just make sure you have that before obviously week 13, because that's when you will be presenting your final deliverable to the team, to the client. So what I was saying is that as you keep working on the research, keep in mind whether you are the team leader or not, just keep in mind on what you will be presenting to the client, because you might have done a great job researching and you have like 20 documents or whatever, but if it's not organized and concise, then I don't know. I don't think, me as a client, I would look into 20 different documents, you know.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So just make sure you do that. So that's what I mentioned, and just I learned things. And something I mentioned before you joined the conversation was the Alps Advanced. If you're interested in doing that, you can. I believe you can still apply for that, and it's paid, but it's like a stipend. So it's like $500 something for the team lead, and 280 or something like that for the rest of the team.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we just talked about that, and yeah, I was just wondering if you all have any questions about projects, because I know sometimes it can be hard to find the right resources for certain things. So I was just here trying to see if I can help with resources or anything like that.
So, for my project, for example, I needed like some data about used products, like sporting used products. But for me, it's been really hard to find that information. And so the only thing I have found is just like on Google Trends, looking for some specific words, like, I don't know, use sporting goods, and how often people are looking for those words, those specific words. But like data, it's just really hard for me to find. I don't know why, because I don't know where to find that information, like demographics or people who are looking for that, you know, or yeah, DH, that people are looking for that specific information. So I don't know where to find that.
So you're saying like products?
Yeah, used, like, yeah, used sporting goods.
Oh, used? Like something that, like not new, or?
Yeah.
Like from something that you would get from the thrift store or something like that? Oh, gotcha. And I assume you want, do you want to find businesses that do that? Or do you want to find, what kind of specific information would you like to find?
Like demographics, like people who are buying that. Yeah.
Okay, like what kind of people buy
Yeah.
used sporting goods?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if, I mean, if you can respond that question to me right now, because this is like a general training, you know, and I just don't want to take your time.
Oh, no, that's okay. I mean, you are the only one here, and Laura, I think. Let's see. I cannot see my screen for some reason. But, yeah, no, you're good. Oh, just a second. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay. No, you're good. I've never asked myself that question about where to find that, but so what is your project about?
we're helping our customer to like improve the effectiveness of his website, like
Mm-hmm.
getting more customers online and social media. We're kind of like helping him to improve his website because
Okay.
it's not like I mean, he needs to improve a lot of things on
Mm-hmm.
his website.
So I assume his business, his website is about used sporting goods.
Used and new, but yeah, he wants to focus on used because it's like, I mean, people who can take the used products,
Mm-hmm.
he sells those products, and the money that that he's collecting is going to charitable stuff.
Okay.
So yeah,
Of the used products, you say.
yeah.
And what about the new ones?
Uh, Actually, I'm not sure about that.
So is this more of like a charity organization? Like he gets money and then he distributes that to
Yeah,
charity?
that's what I understand.
Okay. And he wants to know like what kind of people would be maybe like potential customers?
Right.
Okay. So I definitely think and obviously right now I don't know out of the top of my head what resources. I can Google and try to find something and get back to you with that. But what I would say, I know it's kind of like my answer to a lot of things, is a survey is really useful for that. For example, like let's see, it's week 10. You could potentially have a survey that you post on, I don't know, like sports Facebook groups or something like that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and where you ask people if they would buy that kind of product. You know what I mean? Or have you ever bought used sporting goods? Or would you buy used sporting goods? Or, you know, kind of those kinds of things. Or give them a list of the kinds of products that the company has and ask them like which one of those they would be more likely to buy.
Okay.
So using Qualtrics to come up with that survey, you can come up with a survey in a day, you know, if you really know what you're looking for.
Okay.
And but I think if you distribute that to like a big Facebook group that does sports, because you definitely want to distribute it to someone that does sports, so it's more so it shows what they want, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that, if you do that this week, you could possibly have a good number of responses and analyze that information during week 11 and kind of like give that information to the client and tell him like based on this how many people we surveyed, we noticed that I don't know, like mostly boys want to buy used sporting goods, or you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that should work. Yeah, because that's the only thing I'm struggling with
Mhm.
right now. So I did my research based on like new sporting goods, but
Mhm.
our client, he asked me to like find that specific information for like
Mhm.
used sporting goods.
Okay.
So yeah.
I can definitely. I don't know if Mergent Intellect. So Mergent Intellect is something that you access through BYUI. So I don't know if you have access to that, but it shows you the businesses in specific industries, and it gives you the information about those businesses. But you're not interested in that. You're interested in the customer side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll look into that. But I think that doing that survey could give you a good idea of what potential customers, if they would buy something that he's offering or not, you know?
Yeah.
So as you do that, just make sure that someone else reviews the survey for you, that the wording is good, that it's clear. You definitely want to be clear with your surveys so you can get the right information.
Okay.
And so you could use Qualtrics. I don't know, do you have access to Qualtrics through the LDSBC?
I don't know.
Yes.
I have to check that out because I have access to some of the databases that they have.
Okay.
But yeah, I just realized I don't have access to the BYUI databases.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have more.
Right. So if you cannot try to use Qualtrics just because it looks more professional, you know?
Okay.
Try to use Qualtrics. If you can't because you have to pay or something like that, you can always use Google Forms.
Okay.
And it also tracks, like it puts everything in a spreadsheet so you can, it's not as nice as Qualtrics, but it would do if there's not another way, you know? And just make sure that when you post this survey on Facebook or Instagram, that one, you do it to groups that are more likely to buy these kinds of products. Like you're not going to post it on, I don't know, my Sweet 16 Facebook group, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And also make sure that you write a good explanation saying like, hey, I'm working on this project and I would appreciate your feedback, and tell them like that the surveys are anonymous and we won't use their information for any other purpose than just gathering this information, you know.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
But I hope that helps. I've done that before and it's been very helpful for previous projects because you hear from people, and sometimes it can be harder, but also I think it's valuable, so I hope that works for you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any more questions.
Okay, awesome. You're free to go. And Laura, you as well. If you have any more questions, let me know. But if you guys have any more questions, then you're free to go. I don't think anyone else will join, but I will post this recording on the training channel so you can let your teams know that if they've missed this, they can watch it then.
Okay, I had a quick question about Qualtrics.
Yes.
So earlier today you had said something about being able to track on Qualtrics, like specifically where they went and clicked on it to take the survey or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering how you do that through Qualtrics. I know you can do it through bit.ly links. But yeah, I was interested in how to do it through Qualtrics.
Okay, I can share my screen with you. It'll take me a minute, but I'll show you. I think it'll make more sense if I tell you how to do it. Okay, so for example, I'm gonna go with this one. So you have your survey, and when you go to distributions, you can send personal links. and it's gonna track, like you can do generate links. And I don't know why I have a hard time when I come here to select contacts, but there is a way where you can select like your emails that you want to send the survey to and send personal links. So I believe that's a way where you can track who's responded, you know, like know exactly who responded to the survey. Or you can just distribute your survey via email, and that's good too. And if you want to share it, for example, like in a Facebook group or something, that you can just do the anonymous link, and no, you won't be able to track who's responded to the survey, but yet you can still get responses from people. So let's see, something that David said, because I asked him about that. Oh, sorry, it's right here. If you want to track the respondents, it is important for each person to have a custom link that is usually to allow tracking. So what I was saying, if it does not matter who completes the survey, the same anonymous link is a great option. If you're using Qualtrics, they have a great email function that I would encourage you to use. So you can use that, like, obviously if you do it on a Facebook group, you don't have access to email, so you would do the anonymous link. But if you have the emails of the clients, that you can use the email option or the that personal custom link if you want to track who responds to what.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have issues with, for example, we go to, oops. Okay. If you have issues with that, let me know, or maybe ask David, because I've never used personal links, but I just know that it allows you to track based on what David said. So, yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw you posted something to here. Okay, so we're still waiting to hear from him then. Cool. Anything else, Laura?
I saw that you could also share to social media.
Mm-hmm. You can do that as well.
And that just has a link. And does that track, like, if you send it to Facebook or Instagram?
Does it track it if you do that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it tracks it, but a good point is that, for example, if you send it to different groups, like there are 3 different groups you want to send it on Facebook, I would recommend creating different projects, because the people in group A might not be the same people in group B. So you want to be able to compare and differentiate those 2 different populations. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do that, if you have more than one group that you want to distribute the same survey to, then you would just go to oops. Okay, you would go to create a project, and then you would, if it's the same survey that you want to distribute to different groups, then you would just do create from existing, select your survey and title it according to what Facebook group you're going to distribute it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you don't want to do that, then and if you have different groups but like different surveys, then you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Mhm. Anything else?
So with the survey that I've sent out, that we're sending out through emails, I am using Bitly links to track that. But I'm not sure if like there's a way I can take that data and give it to the client.
Okay, what is it called?
It's Bitly.
How do you spell that?
Bitly.
Oh. So you're using this instead of Qualtrics?
Yeah, the client suggested we use this because it was something that he already knew about.
Okay. And then, I've never used this. But I believe it's like similar thing. You just create a survey and you distribute it, and you're wondering if there is a way that those results can be shown to the client.
Yeah, so this site, it allows you to create a shortened link for a website, or in this case, our survey. And it tracks whether they got it through an email or Facebook, that type of thing. And I'm not sure how to transfer the information of the people who respond, like that highest amount of people who have responded to it. Like, I'm not sure how to put that into something to give to the client.
Okay. Are you able to share your screen so I can see what it looks like?
I can see if I can do that real quick.
Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and pause the recording for the rest.
Okay.
I'm gonna resume the recording just if anyone else needs help with Qualtrics. Okay. So let's see. I'll go to the ones I did master. Okay, so you go to data and analysis, and in this, okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the ugly version of like your results. You can export this as a CVS document or as an Excel document, which is fine. But you can also do cross tabs, which I would recommend more. For example, let's see here. Let's see if I can find a good cross tabulation. So have you ever heard about cross tabulations?
I have not.
Okay, so cross tabulations basically is combining one or two or three questions together so you can get a clear understanding on what that information is telling you. For example, I don't know if this is going to be the greatest example, but for example, do any members of your direct family participate in sports? And then it's cross-tabulated to, do you think there is a need for an indoor recreational facility in the Rigby area? So for example, here, what it's showing this to us is that most people participate in sports, right? And out of those who participate in sports, like the majority believe that they really need a recreational facility in Rigby. Does that make sense? Because, for example, those who participate in sports, only 2 of them don't think there's a need for a recreational facility. Does that make sense, kind of how you read this?
Yeah, so it kind of extrapolates the data.
Yes, exactly. It extrapolates the data so you can make better comparisons. For example, if to this question, do any members of your direct family participate in sports? If those who answered no were the greatest majority, and they, let's see, how do I put this? Okay. Imagine that there's instead of 1, there is 90 there, okay? So what that would tell you is that 90 people that do not participate in sports think there is no need for a sports center, which makes sense because if they do not participate in sports, they won't want to have a sports center, right? But you want to know of those who participate in sports, how many want or think that there is a need for a recreational center, because it's not the same to tell the client like, oh, like 150 people don't think there's a need of for sports, but only 30 people think there is a need for a sports center. But the question would be like, so do all of those 150 people that don't think there is a need, do they participate in sports? Because if they don't, their opinion is not really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it takes the important part of the data and makes it easier to display.
Yes, it makes it easier to display. This is something that you can show to your client. This is something that you can copy paste this to Excel just by using the little hand and making sure that you just select the table. So you can do that, copy paste that into Excel, and you can make bar charts out of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very helpful to do that. It's very easy also to create. For example, I'm going to create a new cross tabulation. And also, this is a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but you have to think about what question you want to be rows and what question you want to be in columns. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you just select like, do you participate in sports is going to be my row question, and let's see. I don't know, like, do you think there is a need for softball fields in the Rigby area is going to be my column. And I just go ahead and create a cross tabulation. And there you go.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's how you create a cross tab. So participate in sports, yes. Do you think there's need for more softball fields? 14 people said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So in total, 80 people said yes to this question, and that's another way how you would read it. Out of 182, 80 people participate in sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
But only 14 out of those 80 think that definitely, yes, there is a need for more softball fields. So what this is showing us is that even though more than, well, almost 50% of the total respondents participate in sports, the majority maybe don't think that there is a need for more softball fields. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a really good tool to use. It's better, I think, than exporting the whole results in Excel and trying to figure out yourself. You can do that. You just need to make sure that the data is cleaned so you can make graphs and things like that. But this is a good way to have just numbers and work with those numbers, but be careful how you interpret those numbers as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you do this, you have to make sure that the two questions are related.
More than related, I would say that they make sense. For example, if you do you participate in sports in do you like ice cream? I don't know. Like it has to have some relevance on how you use that. For example, I think this is a good example because you care who wants more baseball fields or whatever if they do participate in sports, or even better, if they do play baseball. You want to out of those that play baseball, you want to know if they think that they need more baseball fields.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really care much about those who don't play baseball ever.
Mm-hmm. So, like, related to the company that I'm working with,
Mm-hmm.
so do you change the light bulbs based on the room and what color temperature of light bulb? Like, what color?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like, you're asking if those two questions would go together?
Yes.
Like, what were the two questions again?
Do you change the lighting based on the room?
Mm-hmm.
And what color light bulbs do you tend to use? Type of thing.
Yeah, I think so. It'll require some like trying to experiment with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say yes, but it'll require that you guys experiment with those questions and show that information to the client. You don't need to have a bunch of cross tabulations.
Yeah.
I have a lot, but it's because we were trying to figure out what it was all about, so you don't need 40. So make sure, another tip, to delete those cross tabulations that you won't need, so it's not so messy as this one is. But yeah, try to think about what two questions would make sense to give an accurate estimation of the real results, Yeah.
Okay.
And there are other functions that you can use on Qualtrics. I've used that one, so that's the one I'm familiar with. But like I said, you can export this. It's going to look messy on Excel, but then you can kind of clean it up or something. Yeah, I think like for the kind of projects that most of you are doing, cross tabulations could give you a good idea of what the data really looks like. So I would recommend doing that. But don't limit yourself to that, if that makes sense. And then something also, when you go to reports, they already show you the certain graphs that you might want to screenshot or download or something like that. So Qualtrics has already graphed these results. And what you're doing with cross tabulations is putting these different tables together. So it shows a more accurate analysis of your survey. But you can use these as well. Depending on the question, you won't see it for every question. Like some of these say sorry, we cannot do this with the question you asked, but for the most part, they show you. See, for example, data source misconfigured for this visualization. So that one doesn't work, but yeah. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you asked about this. I didn't even think, but there's so many projects doing surveys that I think it would be good to mention these things. So thank you for asking and for sticking around.
Mm. All right. I think that's all my questions for now.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you.